What's good, everybody? Welcome to Stargirl episode 8, titled Shift Part 2. I was quite miffed about the title itself because you'd expect it to be a direct follow-up from last week's episode. It isn't. We see very little of Cindy, which is quite strange considering this is supposed to be part 2 of her story. So we didn't really get that. But before I go into depth, guys, could you hit that like button and please subscribe to the channel? Got a lot of people on board right now, and it would be great for you guys to subscribe to the channel if you want further reviews of this series. Remember, this is from a UK perspective. There's still no date yet in the UK for this show, but we're gonna get around there at some point. I believe either Amazon Prime or Netflix will be the ones that'll pick it up, since they were the ones that were picking up initially Titans, Doom Patrol, and Swamp Thing. So let's get right into it. So we start off with Pat. Pat in itself, we see him driving his Buick at 88 miles an hour. And for those of you sci-fi Easter egg hunters out there, yes, you are correct. 88 miles an hour is the exact speed that the DeLorean went back in time in Back to the Future. So well done for you guys who spotted that. Outside of that, guys, it was kind of strange seeing him driving the wheels off the car, and at some point when he started going really fast, I thought back to last week and I thought, how is Pat gonna explain to Barbara his daughter Courtney's all beaten up and got bruises around her face? And I turned around to my son Casey and I said, Casey, he's going to smash the car. And my son looked at me and was like, Dad, are you crazy? And lo and behold, what did he do? He smashed the car. Now, it's quite obvious. I also mentioned last week as well, which is pivotal to this episode, that either the son or Barbara is going to find out their identity. Now, it was only a week ago. And we walk into this one, and Pat, after the accident, is saying to Courtney, look, man, we can't hold back. I have to tell Barbara. I have to tell her what's going on. And obviously, he's thinking of his wife, and he's thinking of the trust and the love they have, two couples have between each other. And it's probably something that us guys would do in the same situation. Courtney, however, is thinking about herself. She's thinking about these major steps that she's taken to be a superhero. But at the same time, if her mum knew that she was putting herself in danger against a bunch of supervillains, she would shut it down. And most mothers would. So it's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I think we all know from that perspective what we would do. Has she really learnt her lesson? We saw two things. We saw the first thing last week where they were trying to train in the garage. They were all four looking at those mannequins, those dummies. Instead of putting teamwork together, what happens? She goes in and she blows everything away and, like, you know, really bullish. I can do this, guys. Don't worry. Sit back. Let me do everything. And the team didn't like that at all. Well, she did the same thing last week when she got beat up by Cindy. Thought, you know, let me take her on. I got this. Let me sneak into the base. And then she ended up with a fight and getting beaten up back into hospital. Well, guess what, guys? When Beth and Rick end up getting caught, she does exactly the same thing and gets beaten up again. Has she learnt her lesson? That's the question, guys. Has she learnt her lesson? So the most important thing is we get to a scene which I think really is the pivotal scene in the episode, where Beth and Rick and Yolanda are all going to Cindy's house because they found out that she is Shiv, and they want to find out more information about her and who's her parents, because all these supervillains coming out right now are actually descendants of the ISA. So they've all worked out these must be the kids of the Injustice. Which kid is Cindy? That's so they went to the house to find out more information. Another Easter egg for you guys. Beth and Pat walk into the house and they talk to her stepmother, Cindy's stepmother, which, by the way, doesn't exist. Beth put on the Dr. Midnight glasses, and the glasses said that there's no such person that exists. Now, make of that what you will. Is she a clone? Is she just someone who's been paid? You know, like an escort. You go in, you get a model, you get someone off the street, then you pay the money to do whatever. Is she somebody like that? Because she's literally a nobody. In fact, she had eyes for Pat. when he was walking around there and she was offering him cookies and everything. But Pat makes a remark which is a big Easter egg, guys. And he says, oh, when she changed her glasses, he said, yeah, my daughter Beth, her eyesight's not very good. That is a nod to the Stargirl Stars and Stripes comic, where Beth had a problem with her eyesight in a hospital chemical accident. And lo and behold, moving on to that Easter egg, at the end of the situation with the house, she goes into the house, she finds a secret room. The door panel, the code is 199, which is the year 1999, which the Stargirl comic actually started out. She had an accident in the hospital, and guess who saved her? It was Rick Tyler, our man. And guess who saved her in this episode when she fell out the window? It was Rick Tyler. So it was really good to see them using those parallels in the comics straight into the series as Easter eggs, so people who read the comics can really pick up on that and enjoy those little nods that they're giving the fans respectively. But the question is, guys, what did Beth find when she went into the house? Now, Beth found, among other things, that the house was fake. The books were just cardboards and nothing really meant anything. It was a model home. You would put fake furniture, fake bookcases, fake everything in there, and the cupboards had no food in them whatsoever. So the house was just fake. Really, everything was just a front. And we found that out in there as well. But what Beth found, she looks at her dressing table on the mirror and she sees a picture. And the glasses basically says this is Dr. Shiro. Now, Dr. Shiro was somebody who had worked on experiments through the war, and obviously we know he experimented on himself and experimented on his daughter Cindy. Now, this plays into the hand that they're gonna find out who this guy is. Obviously, when Pat saw the picture, he kind of identified straight away, yeah, I know who that is. So they're putting everything together, and hopefully the team will be able to have some answers moving down the line. But the biggest thing about this episode comes where Cindy pays Courtney a visit in her bedroom. And for the first 5 or 10 minutes, we're led to believe that Cindy is just there because she wants to make up with their failed friendship. But I kind of always thought in the back of my mind, nah, Cindy's playing the card, and Cindy knows that Courtney is Stargirl, because again, Pat last week in the basketball courts shouted, Courtney, Courtney, yeah, before Cindy ran. So Cindy must have heard it. Not just that as well, but Cindy actually said, do you think you could fool me behind that mask, behind that fake mask or whatever? And one has to think that because of her powers and her ability, remember when they was in the chemical lesson, she knew how to put the chemicals together. And so look, Cindy's a smart girl, yeah? Let's not make no bones about it. She knows her stuff. So it probably didn't take her 2 and 2 to put together that Courtney was Stargirl anyway. So whether it was the basketball scene last week, Pat called Courtney's name, or whether it's just the fact that she's smart, as most supervillains are. Considering none of the ISA figured it out, and she figured it out straight away. However, obviously she's closer to Courtney, isn't she, in terms of the time they spent together. But I think it was quite typical that she knew who she was, and she dropped a bomb and said, girl, I know who you are, Stargirl. And then from then, Courtney just goes mad. Courtney goes for her, and they end up fighting in the street, bucking up on Henry. Now, what's important with Henry Jr. is, and not just Henry Jr., but Cindy as well, because remember last week I said in my review, one of these young ISA members are going to switch sides. They're going to go to the JSA. And I think we're at a situation now where all 4 of them have the ability to probably do that. Now, Artemis, we know, becomes good. She's a spy, so let's move Artemis out of the way. She definitely can go into the JSA. Cameron's in love with Courtney. Not in love with, but he fancies her. And so therefore you can easily see that happening because he's trying to sort of break the chain from his father. Henry Jr. now. What seems to be the place of Henry Jr. is Henry Jr. is now fully blown with his powers. Fully blown. He can hear people talking. He can, in fact, when he saw Courtney and Cindy fighting, he impulsed a psychic wave that broke the 2 of them up. And he started speaking to Courtney. He shouted Courtney, but then he was talking to her telepathically. got the fact that this guy is not only tapping into his powers, but he's got the capability to be stronger than his father, which most of Generation X kids are in the comic world. So I really do like that he's got a lot of reasons, because he's an outcast and he kind of felt bad about it, even though it was what it was. He didn't want to get mixed up with Cindy, because Cindy was trying to pull him down a path, and he was like, no, you know what, I care about my father, you don't care, leave me alone, go away. Then she asked him again to go out with her, and he said, leave me alone. Yeah, so there's a case to say that Courtney Jr. is probably going to be a loner and not a part of the ISA. Plus, remember, they need him to make their satellites work. The gambler is banking on Brainwave coming out of the hospital so he can get the rest of his plan intact. But now he can use the sun. So now they know the sun. I think it was Dragon King looked at the monitor at the end and was like, aha, so the sun has powers. So obviously that's going to go back to Steve, and that's going to go back to the gambler, and the gambler's now going to change his plans to try and use Henry Jr. for his endgame. But also, most importantly, Cindy, guys. Cindy, the arch nemesis of Stargirl in the comics, is somebody that has the banter. She's the perfect villain for the show, one that we've been waiting to see for a long time. And remember, they don't want her. The ISA, Injustice, don't actually want her. The dad is saying, don't wear the suit again, not interested in you being a part of this, don't want to know. So there's a case, guys, for all 4 of those kids to become members of the JSC and join Courtney. Because, look, I said it last week. I said, these guys right here, the 4 members, they're weak. Yeah? This JSA team don't really have any fighting skills. They're new to their powers. They're rookies. And Stargirl's got beaten up so many times of late, she's now realized she can't do everything by herself. And Pat is just a mentor. That's all he's really there for, yeah, to train these guys. So unless something happens where one of the original members of the JSA comes back, or, and this is the 2 important intangibles here, Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, comes back, 1, or Thunderbolt, the genie, the djinn from the pink pen, starts to enact himself, 2, then that will turn the tide. Outside of that, I don't really see a way how these guys can even get on the same ballpark as them. So a lot of things and revelations have come to pass, guys, in this episode, and I really do like this episode. I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I really like where they're going with it, and the world building and the characterization is what's really driving the show. Rick and Yolanda and Beth really had that kind of sneaky Goonies Super 8 type of let the children see if they can investigate the crime and all that stuff. That is really fun to watch, and I think this show is really growing and growing and growing. And good news, guys, the show this week has just been announced that season 2 has been greenlit. So it's official, guys. Season 2 is happening, and they're going to be growing and growing and growing. I've questioned this show in terms of the future, because CW shows innately don't have big budgets. We saw that the first episode of Stargirl took up probably the whole budget of the last season of The Flash alone, just in one episode. So I think that's important to find out from the distribution of CW to DC Universe, what they're going to do monetary wise, because CW guys don't have a big budget. Remember, this show was originally put out by HBO Max and DC Universe. It had the full backing of Warner, AT&T. And to go onto an episode like that, trying to cut the budget on a show like this is impossible, because visually the show is so beautiful to look at. There's tons of special effects, and it's done properly. They're not using regurgitated scenes that you see in The Flash. You know, when you see The Flash running in the city, and they're using the same scene over and over and again in each episode just to cut the budget. Sometimes what we've seen in this season of Flash, they don't even dress Barry Allen up. He's just been in normal clothes. They didn't even put the costume on. So there's a lot of issues where they do things to cut the costs on the show, and Stargirl doesn't really suffer from that. Stargirl, guys, make no mistake about it, like Titans, Stargirl and Doom Patrol, Stargirl's a big budget show. So my fear from TW is, how much are you going to restrict the production of this show? But listen, that's it from me, guys. Another great episode, fantastic watch. And guys in the UK, hold tight. I'm sure we're going to get some news coming now. If it's not now, then it's probably going to be somewhere around end of August. And I say that because this is episode 8. Episode 9 is coming, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we only got 5 episodes left. We've got 5 weeks to run on this. So towards the end of August, what happened with Titans, what happened with Doom Patrol is their run finished, and then they put the tender out to Amazon and Netflix in Europe to find out which streaming service wanted to carry the show. So it's important for them to move at speed to let the people of Europe know and enjoy the show, because guys, it is a very good show. I'm still getting people sending me messages saying, I thought it was like Batwoman or Arrow or Flash. Or no, it isn't, guys. This is a big budget DC show, and it's in the same range of Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, and Titans, and it's so polished, guys. I keep telling you guys about acting on this show. The lead character, Courtney, has got so much acting chops. She's really leading by example. She's adorable. Her facial expressions, her body movement, everything, guys. She's just grabbing the show by the scruff of the neck and making this our new Smallville of 2020. And I really enjoy what I see. So check out the show, guys, and give me your feedback and put your comments in the comment section below. I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. And listen, that's it from me, man. Peace. I'm out. See you in the next one.